Hey there, in this video we're going to talk about list comprehensions, which is a compact way to represent a for loop. So in terms of a comment, some common code that you'll find yourself writing is a variation of, you want to do something for every s in a sequence, and sometimes you might even want to limit that to if some kind of condition is true. Okay, so do something for every s in a sequence if a condition is true. And the way that would work in Python, just using pieces we already know, is we could start with an empty list result, and that's where we're going to store the result of this, and then we're going to do a for loop for s in sequence. And then in there we can make some item for our result. That is the result of doing something, which we could represent as a function or some Python code. It's going to be based on whatever the value of s is, and then we might want to append that item into result. And then if I had the if statement in there, I'd put that in at this step. I'd just say if condition, then we'd append it. Otherwise, we're just going to skip that result. Okay, so that's pretty common Python code that looks basically like this. Of course, you would use different variable names, but it's so common that there is a shortcut way to do this. And so the way we can do this is using a list comprehension. We're ultimately building a list, so our syntax uses the brackets to give us a list, and in there, we're going to type out do something with s for every s in sequence. That would be the version without the if statement, and if we have the if statement, it's if condition. Okay, so that last part here is optional. And so you can see it's a lot more compact, and it actually mimics the English version of what we wanted to do, although, I mean, I was sort of intentionally, I stated it this way, but it's kind of an English statement if you read it from left to right. Do something for s in sequence if condition. So let's try a quick example. Let's do powers of 2. So that'll be 2 to the power n for n in range. Let's do the first 10 of them, starting at 0. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 4, 8, and so on. Let's say I only want powers of 2 that end in 2. Actually, that'd be a little... Yeah, okay, we can do that. Powers of 2 that end in 2. I gave myself a hard challenge here. So we can do that with an if statement here. What I want to do is check, is there a 2 in the last digit? So what I could do there is convert 2 to the n to a string, and then check if that string ends with a 2. All right, and there we go. There's my powers of 2 that end in 2. There's probably a mathematical way where I didn't have to use a string, but that's what came to mind. So as you can see, both of these are nice and compact. Now, you don't have to make everything into a list comprehension. If you're putting a list comprehension inside a list comprehension, for example, you're probably doing it wrong. It's going to be a trade-off. What makes the most sense? If it's something simple here, like powers of 2, it's with some experience more easy to understand as a list comprehension than as the for loop written out. If it's something complicated, then it might be worth just writing it out as a regular for loop, because then it's just easier to follow along. It's easier to debug if something goes wrong. Okay, so this was a quick video, but we just wanted to look at how we can make list comprehensions.